Welcome into the Cowboys Report. I am Tom Downey. It's been a sub-battle this week with our other NFC East channels. Eagles now, Giants now, and we are losing. The Giants are kicking our butts, which is really weird, and I don't like that. Those fraud Philadelphia Eagles people have 264. Let's get that changed. Subscribe right now, or else I owe Chase and Marshall some money. Hit that sub button for more free Cowboys YouTube videos. Hankins is back with the Dallas Cowboys. Let's get into the latest then on the Dallas Cowboys beyond the situations along the defensive line. We'll get into that. Carlos Watkins. We're going to begin once again with DeAndre Hopkins. The Hopkins trade rumors continue to linger, and, this could change at any point, of course, but it's weird that there hasn't been a ton of interest in Hopkins from the Cowboys themselves, but also from other NFL teams. I don't think the value or the return for a potential Hopkins trade would be very high. Certainly not what you would expect for a player of his caliber and not that advanced age. Here's what Jeremy Fowler of ESPN put out today. Hopkins showed last year he still has a lot left in the tank, but I couldn't find a team at the owners' meetings that sounded eager to bring him in without the Cardinals eating some of the money. And eating some of the money would seem to defeat the purpose of Arizona trading him. It's weird. I know there was a claim that Hopkins would take a discounted deal. I do wonder if he just wants more money. Maybe the Texans eating some of the Brandon Cooks money has helped formulate that element of the wide receiver trade market. Because Hopkins is owed a lot of money. 21.7, 17.2. That's approaching, not quite, but close to it, $40 million per year, or total, for a wide receiver who I guess NFL teams think has maybe one or two good years left. So it's a weird situation for DeAndre Hopkins in Arizona. And because he remains unsigned or untraded for, continues to get the rumors going of, well, could Dallas still get him? Remember, he told people allegedly he wants to be a Cowboy. Dallas hasn't shown interest at this stage. Now, if Arizona eats the money and it's a cheap day 3 draft pick, how can you not say, yes, you want DeAndre Hopkins? I still have my doubts about whether or not that would actually come to fruition, however. So we'll put you in the GM shoes, or I guess the owner/GM shoes for the Jones boys. The Yacht boys been cooking. Would you trade for DeAndre Hopkins? It's the pinned comment on today's video. Why for yes and for no? Go vote for me, especially if the ad break comes here on YouTube. As I've said before, I don't find it very likely, although, hey, I'm glad the Cowboys did things in the trade market at least this offseason. Remember that this Cowboys team, whether we like it or not, is committed to Michael Gallup. You cannot trade Gallup for Hopkins. The money does not make sense, so get that out of the equation, I promise you. You've got CeeDee Lamb, Brandon Cooks, who I think they wanted some speed, which I agree with. That's something we've preached for months now here since the season ended. They have that in Brandon Cooks. They still believe in Michael Gallup, and they're not out fully on Jalen Tolbert. So that's where you sit currently. Maybe if there's no Hopkins trade in the draft and the Cowboys don't take a receiver, maybe they could revisit it. Potentially that'd be, I would still have some semblance of interest, but I think the reality is it's a little bit lower. Now, as many of you know, the Cowboys Report, sponsored by Athletic Greens. I take AG1 because I am old now. My body is not what it once was back in my 20s. I've now hit the 30 mark, and the hairline's receded a little bit more. The widow's peak is more pronounced. The gut's not what it once was in terms of my metabolism. I wanted the better gut health supplements that actually help me out and taste great. AG1 is perfect for it. Take it first thing in the morning. Baby Olivia gets her breakfast. I get my AG1 since I've never been a breakfast eater anyway. You can cover your nutritional bases for the day with Athletic Greens. Just mix it with one small scoop of water. Just like that, boom, you're taken care of. If you are any type of active gym person, Athletic Greens is the very best product you can find. It's an effective daily habit with the highest quality sourced ingredients. And they're giving you a free 1-year supply of vitamin D and 5 free travel packs with your first purchase. So go to athleticgreens.com/chatsports. It's athleticgreens.com/chatsports. Be like me and try to take care of yourself just a little bit better. Links in the comments and the description of today's video. The Cowboys, as I mentioned, kept Jonathan Hankins. They still want to re-sign Carlos Watkins. They spent a lot of time working on Hankins, getting him to come back for at least one more year in Dallas. And I'm totally down to also re-sign Carlos Watkins because I know he's not going to be expensive. He hasn't been for years. Watkins has been like the classic, he's your 5th defensive lineman on the interior. He was on the practice squad for a little bit this year. He's going to cost you that veteran minimum salary benefit contract, barely impact your cap space, give you extra depth, be that Trojan signing of insurance there. And adding Watkins does not in any way preclude you, if there's somebody you really want in this year's NFL draft at DT, from taking somebody. That's just, it sets them up for great success there. So Watkins there, again, the numbers are not great. He's a dirty work player, much like Hankins. He's not supposed to be a splashy player in the stat sheet, although when he gets to the occasional TFL, that's great. He's going to take on some double teams, be a depth player, keep your other guys fresh. Watkins is a high floor, low ceiling type of player, but he does those small things well. He offers you some run stopping. He's not someone you want starting, but he does bring you some ability as a impact depth piece, which is maybe a bit of like a misnomer, but hey, that's just fine there. So who do you guys want to sign next in free agency? Maybe it's Watkins. Maybe it's somebody outside the organization. So far, pretty quiet on that. Sound off for me in the comment section right now. One other internal player who I don't think you will see back is Anthony Barr. Todd Archer said straight up, Barr's not going to be back with the Cowboys. And that really shouldn't be any type of surprise given what we saw last year out of Barr. He just doesn't have the same burst and juice and speed that he did in his prime in Minnesota. He did the job for the Cowboys, gave them a veteran linebacker. I am perfectly willing to give Damone Clark his job and maybe give Jabril Cox a chance as well. We'll keep putting Micah, by the way, on our linebacker depth chart, even though he's a pass rusher. We'll put him in both spots because he's special enough to do that. But LVE's linebacker 1, I'm ready to give Damone Clark a chance, give him a full offseason of not rehabbing, just practicing, playing, developing. I think will be good for him. You have some recent day 3 picks in Jabril Cox, Devin Harper. And if you want to draft somebody else too, I'm fine with that as well. Overall, it's been a unusually good Cowboys offseason because they did the things that we wanted them to do. They were aggressive, not so much in free agency, but via the trade market. That is fine. I'm not going to, I am thirsty for water. I know that it's good water. I don't care what type of brand it is. The Cowboys did that, whether you through free agency or trades, they actually upgraded their roster and were a bit more aggressive than what they normally are, and they won the deal too. So grade the Cowboys offseason, at least so far. Draft still to come. A, B, C, D, or F. Go vote for me in the comment section. We'll wrap up with the Julio Jones rumors, quote unquote. They are the favorites, again in air quotes here, to sign Julio Jones. I will make note, no shade, but the odds and the article on are outdated because this was near the beginning of free agency. They were the betting favorite, right? Plus 200. Then they trade for Brandon Cooks, and I think we also have to realize this part too. Julio's not that good anymore. He's not the same player. Frankly, I think the interest in Julio of like Cowboys favorites doesn't really make any sense. Like if they want to sign him, sure. Like 1-year deal, no guaranteed money. That's where Julio's at for me. Seriously, look at what he's done the past 2 years. If I just gave you the raw numbers of a guy that's missed significant amount of time each of the past 3 years, by the way, and I gave you he had 434 yards in 2021 and under 300 last year, you'd go, I don't need that guy on my team. That's where Julio is. I know he's a name, but he does not remotely bring the same level of impact that you would normally associate with that player. Someone could pick him up, but I don't know how much he's really got left in the tank here.